Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today, I want to talk about these Casio watches again, diver-style watches. These are variations of the model MDV-106. Some people call it the Duro. Some people call it the Marlin because of the fish illustration on the face. I thought I was done. I thought my collection was complete with these 6 variations. There's really not any other new version of this watch available right now. There are a couple older versions that I just can't find at a reasonable price, and I kind of prefer a new watch anyway, to be honest. So I thought I was done, and then I thought maybe I'll take another one. Now take a look at these 2 watches here. The only significant difference between them is that this one came with a resin watch band, and this one came with a metal bracelet and a sticker on the crystal. Oh, it just feels so good to pull that off and say, all right, here we go. So same watch. They're loaded with features that are just very appealing. So let's just focus on this one for the moment. First off, it's a diver's style watch, and I have to call it diver's style because if it's officially a diver watch, it's going to be certified by international standards, and it's going to be much more expensive than this. And so those who do go out of their way to get a real diver's watch are going to be upset if I call this a diver's watch when it doesn't have all those other official certifications. So I'll call it a diver's style watch. But for the vast majority of us that are not actually diving with these watches on down to 200 meters, and really complicated scuba diving that you have to be specially trained to do it. If we're not doing that sort of stuff, this watch it's going to do everything you want it to do. You can take this snorkeling, you can go swimming with it, you can take a bath or a shower, whatever you want to do. It's going to do it. So for the vast majority of us, it might as well be a diver watch. Obviously, the basic design is an homage to the world famous Rolex Submariner watch. This one significantly different from that and significantly, less costly than a Rolex. But for, again, the vast majority of us, this is going to, as they say, check all the boxes and do what you want to do with a diver style watch. When I was a kid, grade school, even junior high, we would have called this a skin diver's watch, or maybe something like this. Oh, I got a skin diver watch. It's waterproof, is what we used to say back then. Oh, that was back in the 1900s. Now we have to say water resistant. Now we just can't call it a skin diver's watch. But anyway, so let's look even closer. Right there, water resistant 200 meter, and there's that fish logo. Now people call this the Marlin. But if you want to get lost on the internet for a little while, you might want to look up the difference between the actual fish, marlin versus sailfish versus swordfish, and you might try and figure out what kind of fish that actually is. Maybe it's not a marlin, but I think it's within the family of marlin, swordfish, or sailfish somehow. So that's the illustration that's on there. It's a really nice 3-hand analog watch, obviously quartz, and it's very accurate. What I've found with these, Casio likes to say they're accurate within, 20 seconds a month or whatever the specifications are for this. I really don't know, because it always does better than what Casio says it will do. So with my other variations on this watch, they're accurate to within like 2 seconds a month, which is remarkable. This doesn't have any independent way of setting itself. It doesn't have multi-band 6 or the wave scepter technology in it. It's not solar powered. It uses a battery that probably lasts 2 or 3 years. And but if you don't mind changing a battery now and then, if you don't mind resetting the time every now and then, and you kind of like the style and the features here. One nice thing about this watch is that it has a rotating bezel. It only rotates counterclockwise, and 2 clicks per minute. So 120 clicks to go all the way around. If I try and spin it the other way, it just kind of locks up and says, I don't go the other way. So I know some people, they've seen watches that are similar to this, that it looks like it has a rotating bezel, but it doesn't actually rotate. And then they say, oh, I can't stand that. For me, almost all the time, I just leave the bezel in this position anyway. So I can get by with something like, ooh, look at that. This one has, it looks like a rotating bezel, but it doesn't actually rotate. And I can get away wearing this and it really doesn't bother me at all. But if you really want the authentic rotating bezel, here you go. Your Casio Duro has you covered. Also, it has a screw down crown for that added water resistance. So right now, you know, it's kind of locked in place. Won't flow freely. So that screw down crown helps to keep water from getting into, you know, right there where that shaft goes into the watch itself. It also has a screw down Caseback. So that's pretty standard for watches that have, you know, increased water resistance. And oh, look at that. I should have shown you that earlier. There's your fish logo on the back of the watch, along with all the other things that you normally see on the back of a Casio watch. It tells you your water resistant 20 bar, stainless steel, Japan movement. It's got the module right there, which is module 2784 and MDV-106. So as far as using that module, I don't think you need to look up the module, you know, the owner's manual online, even though you probably could find that on the Casio website. If you really wanted to know, it might tell you what kind of battery this uses, but you really don't need that in order to know how to use the watch. If you're familiar with these diver style watches, 3-hand analog with a little date window there, it's pretty easy to set the watch, to use the watch. And so here's what I'm going to show you. If you rotate this crown counterclockwise, just a couple of twists there, you can kind of feel when all of a sudden the screw engagement there, yeah, the threads, now it's past the threads there, and now it just rotates freely in either direction. And it sticks out just a little bit. If you want to get it sealed once again, then you would kind of press this down as you're turning it clockwise, and you can kind of feel when the threads engage again, and twist it until it starts to tighten up. You don't want to crank it on there too hard, but yeah, that's how you do that. But let me undo that again. And so now, okay, now it's running freely there, and you could leave it this way if you wanted to, but you know, then you're risking that you don't have enough water resistance for what you might normally want to do with this watch. Now, if I pull it out one click, it's got 2 clicks that'll come out. If I pull out just the first click, right, like that, the watch is still running, but what I can do with the crown in that position is I can rotate the crown now counterclockwise, and as I do, the date window advances. Now, once you set the date, you don't have to fiddle with this watch very often, except I'll show you. It goes all the way up to 31 days. So 29, 30, and 31. And then the day after that, it'll reset to the first of the month. So every 24 hours, it advances one more day on there. Well, there are 5 months out of the year that don't go 31. So at the end of those 5 months, which are February, April, June, September, and November, when you reach the 30th day of the month, and the next day it shows 31, well, there's no such thing as, you know, September 31st. So then you would just unscrew that crown, pull it out one click, and advance it one day, and then you're good to go for, you know, a couple of months until, again, you reach a month that only has less than 31 days. Okay, so pretty easy to keep that date window accurate, but it is a watch that will require you to do a little bit of adjusting every few weeks. And now if I pull this out one more click, so all the way out, that's 2 clicks out if I go right now. Okay, then I've stopped the movement, and I just happened to, you know, pick the straight up 12 o'clock position for the second hand to stop the movement. So now with that out there, I can, oh, let's see, it didn't quite engage all the way. The second click. Okay, there we go. Now it's on. It's out there. I can turn it backwards or forwards and set it to the right time. Now I'll pull this ahead and show you what happens when it switches the date, which happens after 11 p.m. It starts to move. You see, by the time you get to midnight, just right after midnight, it just kind of pops in. Now, you don't want to adjust the date while the watch itself is trying to advance the date. So let's just say, here we are. And let's pretend I don't know if this is showing AM or PM. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that it's a good idea. Don't try to advance the date between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. when the watch might be trying to engage that itself and advance the date. And if you don't know whether this is showing, AM or PM, just turn it around to somewhere between 3 and 9 o'clock, so it could be 4 o'clock, 5, somewhere in this range. Then you know that it's not going to be engaging the date window there. So this would be a place where you could then advance the date. So one way that people like to set this watch is to set it, stop it like this. Well, then you go in here and you set the date to the day before the actual date. So in this case, I'm going to pull, it's all the way in there and it's just kind of loose there, the crown is. I'm going to pull that out one click, okay, and then I'm going to advance it to the 13th because the actual date today is the 14th, okay. So this is a good way to make sure you're setting it correctly without messing with the mechanism in there that's trying to do this. So now it's set to the 13th. So now what I could do is, if I really wanted to be super accurate, I could wait until the second hand gets all the way up to the 12 o'clock position. Then I could pull this out to the second click and have it ready to be synchronized to even like an atomic time source. So I'm just going to wait for that to happen. As soon as I get to the 12 o'clock position, I'm going to pull this out 2 clicks all the way out. Okay, and there we are. Now, I've already forgotten if this is AM or PM, right? But the actual time right now is close to 4:30 p.m. So I'm going to advance this around until the date moves all by itself. Okay, didn't do it that time, so I got to go around 12 hours worth once again. Okay, and there it did it. So now I know it's showing AM hours at this point, but I need to get to the PM hours. And I'll crank this around to about 4:30. In fact, it's a little bit past 4:30. What I'm going to do is take it a little, maybe 5 minutes past where it's supposed to be, and then I'm going to back it up to whatever is going to be the next minute from now. And here I have an atomic time source on a phone app, the Emerald Sequoia Emerald Time app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to synchronize this to 4:33, which is the upcoming minute. And as soon as this gets to 4:33 and 0 seconds, I'm just going to push the crown in right about now. Okay. And yeah, it's okay. I didn't quite get it right. We're about not quite 1 second slow, but I think that's close enough. And this watch is going to probably gain that second back in the next week or so. So I'm satisfied that I have accurately set this watch to the correct time. Now you can buy variations of this watch, some with the resin watch band, some with the metal bracelet. The metal bracelet is, it's got links kind of like this. So in my case, I took out 3 links in order to make it fit my wrist. And these links they're a little tricky to work with, I will admit. These links use what's called a T-bar. So that's this little piece right here that helps to hold those together in place. And you can kind of see where it's supposed to line up right there. And you can see there where there's a little nub there. I'll call it a nub. Okay, so when you tighten it up like this one here, then you can see where that nub is. So you take something really sharp and strong, and you put it in there, and you have to kind of force this whole T-bar to go up and force that little nub to go up and outside of the main part of the link there. And it can be very, very tricky if you don't have the right tools. I've done it a few times with just using, a really strong end of like a jeweler's screwdriver, or maybe the sharp end of a spring bar tool. And I remember after doing it a few times, I thought, there's got to be something that's maybe made exactly to do this job. And so I found this specific TBar tool, and I made a video about this, and so I'll link that video in the write-up on the video you're watching right now. So just below here, you can find the link to find out all about the T-bar. The T-bar tool has kind of one end of it that's a little sharper than the other and sticks out a little bit farther, and it allows you to push the sharper end in there and line up the flat end on the edge of the link and then push, and then that will kind of help to release the T-bar in a way that would make it very easy then to remove the T-bar and kind of wiggle the links apart, and then, you know, put them back together. And then once this is back to the, well, I'll show you. You can watch the T-bar video and get the full tutorial on how to use the TBar tool, but that's what I got, and that's been very helpful for some of these watch bracelets that I've purchased. Now there is some glow-in-the-dark or lume material on here. This isn't the best demonstration of what it would look like to your eyes. Well, let me just charge that up briefly. You can see how bright that is. Lots of good lume material. This is not the most advanced glow-in-the-dark material you'll ever find. So what you're going to notice is that this brightness will fade quickly as you're using the watch and as you get deeper into the evening. But, you know, I like that there's a whole bunch of it. And if you don't need it to stay glowing for hours and hours and hours, it's kind of nice. You got to remember, this is a budget-friendly watch. It's not going to have the most advanced materials in there to glow in the dark. Let's just double check how much these watches weigh. This is the one with the resin band, and, you know, about 91 grams, 92, somewhere in there. Now, if you change that out for the metal bracelet, what are you looking at? Oh, 136, so it's pretty hefty there. Again, a solid metal case. Everything about this is nice, good metal, and it's heavy, it's sturdy, but don't be afraid of that. I think it's perfectly comfortable, but it's not a very lightweight watch, I will admit. This is what it looks like on my wrist. I have about a 7.5-inch wrist. So maybe, I don't know if that's average or larger than average, but that's what it looks like on my wrist. And I don't have the calipers out. I'm not going to give you all the different dimensions here, but just to show you that what I think is a pretty, regular size wrist, this is what the watch looks like. And what about the price? Well, when I bought this watch, it was in a clearance bin at Walmart, and it was like $13, if I remember correctly. This has been about 3 or 4 years ago. So, I was not really interested in diver style watches at the moment, but it was so affordable. I just thought, how can I pass that up? And then I started to see different variations. I started to get into them. So that's how I ended up getting those other colors that you saw earlier, those other color combinations. And then finally thinking, well, you could buy this watch just like this for somewhere around $45 right now. Back around Christmas time, Black Friday deals, that sort of thing, you might have found this closer to just $40. And there was a time when, earlier this year, when if you wanted it to come with the metal bracelet, they were charging like $90 maybe, but right now it's more like $65. I found this on Amazon. So if you really want to get the metal bracelet already on it, about $65. I think that's a good value, actually, because it's so solid. It's iconic in its own right. I know it's not a Rolex, but it's iconic in its own right. And and it just works so well for what it does. So that's why I decided, okay, I'll get one more rather than buy a bracelet and just modify this old one. I'll leave this as it was for nostalgia purposes, and I'll just get one additional watch for to have my complete Duro set. And I know there's a couple more I could probably get, just variations of what I already have, with or without the bracelet or the resin. But I think I'm done for now. Famous last words when it comes to me, right? So this one for more casual, and you can see it's probably got some stains from sunscreen on it already. So, that's when I'll use that one. And this one, I think with that really classy metal look, you could wear this anywhere with any attire, and it would be good. So, all right, that's all for now. If you're interested in this watch, go look for it. You can find it on Amazon. You can go officially to Casio, but I've had good luck with Amazon, and when it's a good price, that's kind of when I jump on it. So Or also the Walmart website would have that. If you happen to see one of these at Walmart, just ask someone there to scan the price for you, because you might be surprised if they still have these at your local Walmart. You might get a great deal on one of these, and you just, for the price, it's like you have to have one, right? Anyway, so that's all for now. I'm going to have more videos coming up, and honestly, I really appreciate the attention that the channel gets. I really appreciate the positive comments and even some of the constructive criticism. And I really just want to be helpful. I know I talk a lot in my videos, long videos, detailed videos, but one of the things I'm trying to do, and I've said this to people in comments, I don't know if I've said it here on the YouTube channel, with my own voice. What I'm trying to do is to answer all the questions I would have had before I got the thing that I'm talking about. So if you've never seen any of my videos before about the Casio Duro, that's why I wanted to go really in depth and be thorough and answer all the questions you might have before you consider buying one of these. And so I'm trying to be helpful. I hope I am helpful. Let me know if I can help you with something else, because really in this day and age, I want to be one of the helpers. And I hope you can tell I'm sincere about that. So I hope I earn your trust. I hope you think I'm helpful, and I hope you'll join me again soon for another episode of the Good Timekeeping Show.